In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the matter, the definition of matter. And to understand the definition of matter, we should understand some other definitions like mass and volume. So, what is matter and what is mass and what is volume? Matter is defined as anything that has mass and volume. So anything around us that has mass and volume is matter. But what is mass and what is volume? Let's begin with mass. Mass is defined as the amount of matter in an object. For example, the amount of glass in this glass cup is the amount of matter in the glass cup, because the glass cup is made mainly of glass. So the amount of glass in the glass cup is equal to the mass of the cup. Similarly, the amount of sugar in the sugar cube is equal to the mass of the sugar cube, because it's the matter of the sugar cube. Also, the amount of tea inside the tea is the mass of the tea, represents the mass of the tea. And similarly, the amount of stainless steel inside the spoon is the mass of the spoon. This piece of wood has a mass. What is the mass of this piece of wood? It's the amount of matter in the piece of wood. And what is the matter of the piece of wood? It's mainly wood, so it's the amount of wood in the piece of wood. So we can say the mass of this piece of wood is the amount of matter or the amount of wood. If we compare two pieces of wood, we can look at the first one made of wood, and this one is also made of wood. The amount of wood in this piece of wood is the mass, and also similarly if we have the same amount of wood in the second piece, we can say that we have equal masses. In this example, the first piece of wood is smaller than the other two, but they are all made of wood. The first piece of wood has mass of 4 kilograms. It's a small mass because it has a small amount of wood. The second piece of wood is also made of wood, of course, but it has mass of 6 kilograms. It has larger mass than the first piece because it has larger amount of wood. The last one has mass of 9 kilograms, so it has much larger mass because it has much larger amount of wood. So we can say that this piece of wood has greater mass than this piece, and this piece has greater mass than the first small piece. Let's take another example, but let's compare this piece of wood to a different object of different matter. This piece of wood has mass of 4 kilograms, for example, so the amount of matter is 4 kilograms. Let's compare it to a watermelon. The watermelon has different type of matter, but although it has different type of matter, it has the same mass of 4 kilograms. That's because it has the same amount of matter. So the two objects, the watermelon and the piece of wood, are equal in mass, or they have equal masses. Let's take another example. Same piece of wood, mass is 4 kilograms, the amount of wood is 4 kilograms, but The book has different type of matter, which is mainly paper. So although it has different type of matter, the mass is also 4 kilogram. That's because the amount of paper is equal to 4 kilograms. So the two objects have equal masses. You can do these examples by yourself. This soda can has the amount of matter which is equal to the amount of stainless steel, and the pencil and the glass cup and the book. Let's move to the second part in the definition of matter, which is volume. Volume is defined as the space occupied by an object. But what does this mean? We said that volume is the space occupied. Volume of an object is the space occupied by that object. So if we look at this box, what is the volume of this box? It's the space occupied by the box. So let's imagine that this box disappears for a second. This is the space occupied, or that was occupied by the box. And we said the space occupied by any object is the volume of that object. So the space occupied by the box is the volume of the box. So we now have a full definition of matter after we defined mass and volume. Matter is anything that has mass and volume. Mass is the amount of matter in an object, and volume, it is the space occupied by the object. So we can define matter as anything that has mass and volume, or we can even say it is anything that has mass and occupies space. And occupies space refers to volume, because volume is the space occupied. So we can say occupies space instead of volume. Let's take some examples of matter around us. Everything, according to the previous definition, everything around us that we can see, touch, taste, or smell is matter. Everything around us has mass and occupies space. For example, the pencil, the light bulbs, the computer, the cup of coffee, the cell phone, even the coin is matter because it has mass, or they are all matter because they have masses and they occupy spaces. So we can say that everything around us is basically matter. We deal with matter every day, all the time. When we go shopping, vegetables, we buy vegetables, fruit, we buy vegetables, we buy fruit, we buy meat, we buy milk, we buy gasoline, we buy books, we buy clothes, and so many other things. So in order to deal with those things, it's very important to learn how to measure them. So the next lesson we are going to talk about the measuring tools, the units of measurements, and how to estimate the length, mass, and the volume of different types of matter.